Welcome to thestockminer.com here in the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your stockminer, Brian Johnson, and we had a huge day in the markets. We saw a giant move down to start the day, and then a bounce really kind of the rest of the day. Right at the very end of the day, we ran into some overhead resistance that pulled us back a little bit, and you can see it clearly marked by the chart in front of you. Really in due to the uncertainty coming in from Japan. I don't know if you guys have been following that, but you want to talk about a butt whooping in the markets. Japan has taken it hard the last couple of days, down 10.5%. Yes, that equals 1,000 points on the Nikkei. Combine that with what they saw yesterday, and it makes for a pretty ugly move the past couple of days. So the rest of the world kind of absorbing some of that too. Us over here, really in the States, looking better than the rest, with some of the other world's indices being down as much as 3.5, 2.5, those larger moves within the markets themselves. But us over here, just only down, I should say, only down about 1%. Wow, what a recovery by the market. So, still, for those of you that have been short, you've got to be loving this. This has turned out to be a very, very good move for you. We've had definitely entries to get in along the way. There was a lot of uncertainty, but if you waited, if you were patient, if you just stood by and waited for the break, you were rewarded. This is why not only do I try to talk to my viewers about this, but I try to hammer this home with my students, and that is sometimes patience is the biggest asset you can have when it comes to playing the markets, and patience just comes from knowledge. So waiting around for some of these levels to break, like this level here, some of these lower levels as we'll get into later on, waiting for those to break before you take your short position is played off very, very well. Now, Mondays into Tuesdays on options expiration weeks, for those of you that follow me, know I'm not so scared about holding Monday into Tuesdays. It's usually the rest of the week where I get a little bit more cautious with my trading, especially if we're not trending in one particular direction, and will usually end up with a little smaller position size to kind of protect myself a little bit better. So I would caution you guys against that for maybe the remainder of the week. We'll see. Based on today's charts, there are some interesting candle formations being shown. So here on the Dow, though, look how well these lines held. We had that big gap down today, which held right at this 11.7 mark, and then right back up into the 11.9 mark, which also held by the end of the day. So these lines working perfectly for us. You can see in most cases, but I'll admit not all, but in most cases, these lines I have drawn in here work extremely well from a support and resistance standpoint. So I recommend you guys pay attention to those. On the daily, you can see the big wick to the downside here with the gap down, touch that 11.7, and then bounce right back up again. Now, is anything broken? From the bear side, not yet, guys. Got to tell you. So I wouldn't necessarily panic quite yet if you are bearish. If you have the gut for it, you might want to hold on and see if we can hold some of these levels up here on any kind of retest. You're obviously more than welcome to take some profits, though. Never a good idea to take a loss on something that you have made pretty decent money in. And more importantly, we danced around the 20, we danced around the 50, and now we're clearly below the 50, which could act as some pretty substantial resistance when and if we get back up into that area. Here you see what the Nasdaq did, and this is a good indication of what we truly saw was with the big gap down to start the day, and then nothing but a straight run up for the remainder of it. You can see us coming right back into overhead resistance, stopping there for the day and holding. If we skip over to the daily, big white candle with the gap down and into this overhead area, hitting some lower levels here. I don't really have marked, but through this little minor area we had here and climbing its way almost back, and really ultimately back to where we had been hitting these lows back up in here. So I still like the 2280 mark, but this 2270-ish mark as well was decidedly bearish once it got up there. Some selling came in right around that area, pushed it back down about 10 points. But you can see with the moves we've been having, if you haven't been short, I'm not a big shorter of the Nasdaq anyway. This is one I like to look at from the long side, but this applies to all the indices. If you have been short the SPX or the Dow, you've been rewarded these last few days for your patience in the market. The weekly as well, this is really what came into play today, guys, in a big way. The bulls doing their best to try to hold this area. I mentioned that the 20 week would be definitely an area of potential target If you were short the markets itself, we got the big gap down below, but you can see by the end of the day, trying to hold it. It'll be very curious to see if the bulls don't try to keep it here or above this area going into the end of the week. Don't think they want to lose this area overall. So very, very precise type of a move within the markets today. I mean, opening at logical areas, closing at logical areas. And this is just more testament to the bulls not wanting to give up quite yet. They're just not ready to do it. It's not dissimilar to what we saw over here, where we saw these big moves down with the pullbacks, and then the moves down and the pullbacks, and the moves down and the pullbacks, and the bulls just kept on buying it up, giving opportunities for the Bears. But boy, I'll tell you what, it was nervous opportunities for the Bears. I'm sure a lot of you might be there right now. If you don't know exactly where to put your stops or exactly what you're looking for, you might be in a position where you're like, man, I mean, I'm short every day, but then I wake up and think, is this the day I take profits? Is this the day I take profits? It's the same type of pattern we saw over here working its way over here. And for good reason. You can see us holding very well to these levels. These are the areas you want to watch now coming into the middle to the end of the week. If the Bears can continue this onslaught, I think we're going to see more selling. Now, granted, Japan has been a big leader of this, and they're down about 17% in 2 days. So maybe they're going to slow up a bit and allow things to kind of maybe move sideways, if nothing else, within the markets here. Because our markets, while they have been hit decently hard, have certainly not been crushed like some of the other foreign markets have. They've done pretty well up until this point. You can see the bulls just not wanting to give up down here. But to watch these bigger moves to the downside, still nothing broken from the bear side. So, for those of you that are bearish, yeah, put your stops in, use some caution here, but don't panic quite yet. Let's make the bulls prove it to us this time. How about that? I think that's the best way to put it. All right, so the SPX also bouncing off very nice lower levels. I have marked in here on the charts, holding very well and bouncing straight up in overhead resistance. And here we are again back at the 1280-ish mark. So these overhead levels will definitely be areas to watch if you want to A, get out of current short positions, or B, maybe look to enter some long positions. But I would give this thing a little time to resolve itself and see if the bears don't try yet some more move. The SPX looks by far the most bullish when it's all said and done. That is a pretty huge hammer candle. You will have a lot of pundits screaming bullish, 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 and I'm not sold on it. So I guess I will diverge from what most of the other blogs I'm sure will be screaming about today. I'm just not sold on it yet. I need proof. I need the bulls to prove it to me, which it looks very good right now. I mean, no reason to think that it can't happen coming into tomorrow. A little bit of bullish action, but let's make them prove it to you. Okay, they've got to get this thing back above 1290, 1292-ish areas. Those are definitely areas I'll be watching tomorrow to see if there's any kind of follow through by the bulls. I'm just not sold on it yet. I don't know, call it a gut. Just the information in front of me doesn't make me ultimately mega bullish coming into tomorrow. I want them to prove it to me. If they can, more power to them. But I would still use caution. What I'm saying is, don't let your bias run away with you. Just because this is a hammer candle, it's in a good place for a hammer candle. It has all the attributes of a hammer candle. Doesn't necessarily make it a hammer candle. So it looks like poop, smells like poop. Isn't necessarily poop, I guess. You want to watch this very, very closely coming in. Make the bulls prove it to you. The VIX, huge move. This is what I've been talking about, guys. That VIX staying above this 1920 area was exactly what I wanted to see from a bearish standpoint. You want to see it hold up there, and boy, did it come through in a big way today. Up 15% by the end of the day, and now well above these areas we've been watching, and that is above these 50-day moving averages here. Hasn't closed here yet. This is a weekly candle, so of course we could see a lot of this by the end of it, where it screams back down, pushes up in the market. But right now, that fear, that anxiety is definitely starting to creep its way back into the markets. That is bearish overall for the markets. I just can't reconcile this quite yet. That's why I can't get sold on some of the other things I'm seeing within the markets. Once again, I'll make them prove it to me. Watch tomorrow very closely. Don't enter tomorrow, oh, it's absolutely bullish, we're going up, no doubt about it, because you could very well get your hand slapped. Okay, Apple 60-minute, big down day today, but you can see Apple doing what it does, and that is a huge recovery as well. Now here's that channel we were watching. You can see it kind of right below it, now right back into it. Notice how well this area held. Strong hold today for about 4 hours on Apple. So if you guys want to look to get bullish this Apple thing, you want to make sure it's up and out of the 348 or so area. I might even use a little bit more caution on that, but anyway, above that 348 maybe gives you your first chance. It's got to get back above the 50-day. So the 50 is 346. Then you have this overhead resistance level, and that's right around 348, and that's why I'm suggesting that maybe you wait a little bit. What are we seeing? It's a consolidation here. Yeah, I can maybe call this a break of a symmetrical triangle up here, but I'm certainly not going to make any moves in Apple. I'm not a big shorter of Apple, except in certain cases, and this is not one of those cases. So for me, just wait for the breaks one way or the other. Now below 340, you bet. Opportunities to the short side for a couple of bucks, if not more, then back above that 348 area. From a weekly to holding again this overhead, but you can see we haven't really moved anywhere. So yes, while it has been volatile, while it has down almost $7 for the week so far, we really haven't moved anywhere. It's been sitting around the 340-ish mark for quite a few since, well, beginning of the year basically, going all the way back into December. So I mean, we're not really moving anywhere, even though the 60-minute and stuff makes it look like things have been a lot more volatile than what they really have. Okay, FAS gap down, move up. I'm going to flip right to a daily and show you what we're seeing here. Look at this, holding that 29 area. Now the short area was below 29. We didn't get it. We got a gap down. Very, very hard to trade on a huge gap down like this. But notice how well it held when it came back up to it. So now things have turned around a little bit for me. It's above 29 and below 27 for your trades in FAS. And on FAZ, we got the big break to the upside. I told you I was more bullish on this just based on the information that was in front of me. We got the move today. It did not hold as well as I would have liked, but let's flip over and take a look at what did happen. We got the gap up and now back to retest this line. Very, very common. So I still think there's opportunity here to start getting, I know I'm going to say it, gasp, long the FAZ. I've told you that really above that 43 mark was my area, or more above the 50-day moving average was a more speculative place to get long. So if you've been long since then, you're making money. Tomorrow, if you want an opportunity, if this thing will hold this area and get back above 43, 43.50-ish or so, there's your next opportunity at some potential long entries within the FAZ. And at that point, we get that panic to continue within the markets. We could see this thing turn into a very, very nice trade over the next few days, few weeks, who knows. So there's my information. So this, loved this from a bull standpoint. We got the move today. It didn't hold, but we're not, I don't know if we're done yet. I don't know if we're done yet. So let's wait and see if this thing can't give us a little bit more of a reaction. Look for the levels I gave you for your long entries. Not only on FAZ or FAS, whichever one you prefer to play, completely up to you. I think the FAZ for me right now, the chart is just a little bit more clean than what I'm seeing in the FAS. So we'll be watching that going forward. That'll do it for today's video. All right. And I will try to be with you guys tomorrow. I've got a lot of stuff going on tomorrow. There may or may not be a video for the daily viewers. There will definitely be a video for the subscribers. I do one for them, obviously, every day as well. So I may or may not be with you tomorrow, but if nothing else, I'll leave mention, write up a little note, maybe leave a couple charts, at least something for you guys to take a look at. But please, hey, if you guys are enjoying these videos, you're getting any information from them, tell somebody, will you? Tell your buddies, tell your friends. The whole reason I really kind of started this site was to try and help educate some of the younger traders, some of the newer traders. As it's turned out, I've been able to help a bunch of different people, but ultimately the direction was to help a lot of newer traders or younger traders that are just coming into the trading business that want to find out, hey, what is a MACD? What is a swing low, swing high? And that's why I did the educational videos I did that you can find on the site. And a lot of these daily videos are done for people just to help them get at least a little grasp of how technical analysis work and try to get a grip on what they can use going forward within their trading. So it's a free service. Don't charge for these dailies, obviously, but stick the link up on a favorite website of yours or a board of some sort, if you would. And I just want to, if I can help other people, that's exactly what I want to do. So appreciate your guys' help on that. And we'll potentially see you tomorrow. We'll see how things go and if I can get everything I need to get done in time. Otherwise, we'll see you for sure on Thursday. Bye.